Let's start today's video with a little mission I had to accomplish because I had to travel for a few days and I didn't want to leave all my stuff unattended during my absence. So the plan was to go pick up my friend and his boat and bring them down to the platform where he would simply dock for a few days and where he can work on his broken boat engine, which is the reason why I need to pick him up in the first place. And here's how we do it. We simply line up the boats side by side, then tie them up, pull up the anchor gear, and that's it, off we go. The music is optional. Alright, now enough with the horseplay. Let's focus a little on the task at hand. As we are approaching the platform, we have to look at its position and which way it's moving to determine the best way to approach it. As you can see, she's slowly rotating clockwise, turning its starboard side away from us, and of course that's the side we want to dock at. So my friend decides to turn headfirst into the wind, and then, using gentle thrusts of the boat's main engine and a few bumps with the bow thruster if necessary, with the help of the wind, let the boat calmly find its natural position back at the dock. Now that my boat is safely docked back at the platform, it's time to get my friend's boat detached from my boat and put it over to the other side and dock it to the platform as well. Here you can see very well how little effort is required to move a boat around on calm waters with very little wind. Alright, mission accomplished. Our new temporary resident is settled in. The platform is doing its thing, and so I'll have peace of mind during my travel. Next, I want to briefly talk about our self-made anchor weight and show you how we made it. An anchor weight, here in green, is used to disperse the force with which the boat is pulling on the anchor chain further back from the anchor shaft to prevent it from being broken out unwillingly. So that's why we used one when we anchored the platform a couple episodes back. To make them, I got a bunch of lead bars. Each one is between 10 and 13 kilos. We then drill a 12mm hole through two of them stacked together. We then bolt two bars together with an M12 bolt. The specimen here is almost 30 kilos, which is very heavy compared to its compact size. This new one I made is a little lighter, a mere 25 kilos. And so here I'm putting everything together using thread locking resin on all the bolts. Now this one is ready to go, and I'll show you in future videos more amply how we use them. Next, let's clear out all this stuff out of the way. Stir up some paint and then paint this corner. So far so good. Let's put the work equipment on the platform. And then I cut out a square from this piece of plywood. If I measured correctly, this should fit exactly in the area behind the steering wheel. Perfect. Next, I can once again apply my favorite method for whenever I have to attach wood to steel: magnets. I then glue a strip of rubber to the bottom of the wooden plate so that it doesn't rest directly on the steel. Just to be safe, I'll add another couple magnets. So here we go. Oh, I like that sound. With this, we now have a huge canvas where we can attach our electronic devices. Upon closer inspection, we can see that all the visible magnets are properly engaged. And I'll be sure to show you all the cool things we'll mount there in an upcoming video. For now, join me onto the roof of our boat, where we are going to use the orbital sander attached to the shop vac to sand some areas which I treated before with filler paste. Next, I'm gonna put down a layer of international top lac paint. Now the roof is nice and smooth and ready to receive our solar panels. At first, just for testing, I'm only gonna install 2 panels wired in series. Now it's also time to install our second MPPT controller, so that now we can install the remaining 2 solar panels to have a total of 4. To finish up, I made some nice cables, so I can wire the controller properly to our 24-volt DC battery bank. And I'm afraid that here too, we're gonna have to leave it at that for now. Because next we are getting to the biggest job of this video, in fact one of the biggest jobs of this entire boat project altogether, making a new floor for the wheelhouse of our boat. Let's start by removing that terrible fake wooden floor. The seating area, which I want to preserve, prevents me from removing certain boards as a whole, so I'm using this electric scraper to cut off the unneeded parts of the boards. Great, let's remove some more. And then we can set up once again our workstation on the platform and cut the first of the new floorboards. Let's see if it fits. And each time I remove it, I cut away some parts to make it fit eventually. Alright, now let's cut the next piece. And you may notice that I'm not showing every single cut that I did, because I had a bit of a time constraint, but I hope that you can still get a good idea of the work I've done. Alright, the second piece fits. Let's keep going. They made this entire side out of a single board, so I'm gonna have to cut it into smaller pieces. And just look how easy the access to the engine room is now, once all the floorboards have been removed. Here you can see the technique which I'm applying, which is to always adapt the next board to the previous one, usually by putting them on top of each other and then making the marks where necessary. For the boards that go on the sides, I cut out the spaces for the beams and hoses and whatever else is in the way first. Once the board is flush with one side, I put the previous board on top and draw the line for where to cut on the next board. Whenever the circumstances permit, I draw the line directly according to the underlying structure where the board will later rest on. Here once again I first mark the position of the vertical beams and also the horizontal beam here on the right. If the board covers up the position of the horizontal beam, I use painter's tape to mark the middle of the beam and can then trace my line. Alright, now on with the last corner piece. This is one of the few boards where I have to take the measurements with a ruler and I can only put it in to see if it fits after I cut it almost completely, leaving very little room for mistakes. Here you can see the process of putting the board in and out to see if it fits, each time making small marks and cutting away little pieces here and there. This board was particularly difficult because it has to slide underneath the door, which was made difficult by the side beams. So I had to cut very specific shapes, allowing the board to be first lowered down sideways and then slide forward underneath the door. Right, now let's attack the largest board, which also contains the base of the adjustable table. It's always nice to see the engine from here. Right, let's put the new board in place and make the first marks for where to cut. Okay, great. The board now fits. All that's left to do now is to add the base of the adjustable table. First, I'm gonna have to cut a hole using my hole saw kit. There are some rivets preventing me from inserting the pole into the hole, so let's take care of that with a file. Then I cut a hole into a second, smaller board to serve as reinforcement, but then unfortunately the hole saw broke. So I finished the job with the jigsaw. I then screwed the reinforcement plate to the underside of the wooden board. Finally, I drilled the holes to bolt the base down. The biggest piece is now finished, so let's put it back in place. Alright, last thing to do are the two hatches. I got a new electric hand plane to help with the fine adjustments of fitting the boards. What you see here are my very first cuts with this new tool, so I'm sure there's a lot of room for improvements, but at the end of the day it worked out perfectly. Hi there! Please, take your shoes off and come in. As I mentioned earlier, I was under severe time constraints, so that's why you might notice some imperfections here and there, such as here, where there is a long gap that I have to close up. There is still this corner of the old wood, which I cannot remove. I still need to mount the handles for the hatches. Some boards are not perfectly flush between each other. But those are just minor things which I'm gonna take care of over the coming days and weeks. And overall, I have to say that I'm extremely satisfied with the result. In fact, it turned out much better than I even dared to dream. And at this point, I'm signing off. Thank you all for watching, and see you in the next video.